Hey everybody, it's Jessica, aka Luciditi, and welcome back to Japanese History for Everyone. This is the second time that I'm filming this video because, as we found out on Tuesday, all of the audio was gone the first time I filmed it. So I know I promised to upload on Wednesdays. This is out today because we didn't find out till the last minute that the audio had never recorded. In other news, if you haven't noticed, we've rebranded. I rebranded the channel. Essentially, we have a new banner. I've changed the name officially to JH4E, which stands for Japanese History for Everyone, and that's going to be basically the name of the channel going forward. So today we're going to be talking about the history of wearing masks in Japan. And that's because, if you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and also because I actually didn't know the history and wanted to learn more about it. When I first lived in Japan about 10 years ago, I noticed that people would wear masks, not just during flu season, but pretty much almost all year round. And they basically wear it when they get sick, when they have allergies, when it is flu season and they don't want to get sick from others. So I kind of accepted it as an everyday occurrence in Japan, and I started associating it with either Japanese or Asia in general as a cultural phenomenon. So what if I told you that the history of wearing face masks in Japan actually started in the US over 100 years ago? It started during an event that you may have heard of recently, the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. So if you don't know much about the Spanish flu, it actually spanned about 4 waves, the first one beginning of March of 1918, and the last wave beginning in April of 1920, killing roughly 500,000 people around the globe. And it's during this first wave that we see mask orders starting in and around the US, in major cities such as San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, and Phoenix. These early masks were made out of gauze, and they were distributed by volunteer organizations such as the Red Cross. And there were also newspapers detailing how to make your own masks at home. But if you thought that 100 years ago, that people were smarter and listened to scientists and didn't give as much of a fuss as they did today, you would be wrong. There were actually tons of people that didn't want to comply with this mask order. People complained that it was uncomfortable, they complained that it drummed up unnecessary fear, and business owners worried that it would drive away business. As a reaction to this, people were fined, thrown in prison, or publicly shamed in their local newspaper. So in Japan, the Spanish flu affected about 23.8 million people, close to half the population at the time, and killed about 388,000. But it's not during the first wave, but the second wave that it really starts to get bad in Japan. And that's when Japanese health officials start looking towards other countries to see what they did in order to make their own ideas of what they should do in Japan. One of the things that they learned about was the mass orders that were done in the US. It's around the time of the third wave in 1919 that the National Public Health Administration in Japan starts to mandate that the Japanese wear masks. At first, it's a suggestion for high traffic areas where there's lots of people, and then eventually it becomes a mandate where the government is actually having volunteer organizations hand out these masks and tell them that they have to wear them. It's in the fourth wave of 1920 that it really becomes strictly enforced. The masks are now being distributed in very large quantities, and volunteer organizations are helping distribute them. This is also around the time that you start seeing posters, both in newspapers and magazine articles, and posted all around Japan of, please wear the masks so that you can help save other people. It's now a source of national pride, and everyone starts to fall behind without much complaint. And after the Spanish flu ends, people in Japan continue to wear them, and this continues up until the present day. So you may be wondering, if both the US and Japan had mask orders during the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, why is it that the Japanese continued to wear masks while the Americans pretty much forgot it ever happened in the first place? Simply put, the Americans resisted, and the Japanese openly welcomed it. It was considered something that was modern and a national service and something that you did sort of patriotically almost. Whereas in the US, people continued to fight against it, made a big deal of it, got in a lot of trouble for not wearing it. And you can see that public perception plays a big role in whether or not a policy becomes successful and whether or not it gets adopted into a culture more long term. So knowing the history, you might not be surprised on why maybe Japan and other cultures wore masks willingly during the coronavirus epidemic, whereas it became a huge topic of contention in the United States. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something interesting. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments section. I will answer any question that anyone asks me. If you like the video, please like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to be uploading every week, and I'll be doing the animated videos every 3 weeks like we did a couple of months ago. Currently with the animated videos, we are going over the Sengoku period and learning how the three unifiers eventually brought the country back together, and we'll be talking about Nobunaga in the next 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.